David is very involved in so many Catholic organizations, and the mantra in his life is, how can I help?
You do see people that want to come volunteer and then they want to impose whatever their thoughts on the strategy of the organization should be. But a much more healthier way of approaching any organization is, how can I help? It's very open-ended. And then you listen. And they say, well, you need to get an apron and go help feed the homeless here. We need some cleaning up. Can you take the garbage out? Nothing should be beneath you, when you go to volunteer. I was one of 5 children, the middle one, in a lower middle class sort of condominium in Buena Park. It was a great childhood. Both my parents had to work, my dad in business. My mom was a public school teacher, so it was a courageous move on her part to pull us out of public school and put us into Catholic schools. At Servite, of course, I fell in love with the school and my classmates, and I never turned back. Somewhere along the way, it became part of my DNA that there is an enormous amount of suffering and disadvantage. And I was on a track, private high school, to an Ivy League college, to a business career. And along the way, you say to yourself, is there something else? And so it was just inside of me. I have to get back.
Dave has been a force in the Knights of Malta. The Order of Malta is a 1,000-year-old organization which is dedicated to helping the poor and the sick. And their signature event would be taking very ill people to Lourdes every year.
I remember on a trip to Lourdes with Dave, seeing him up very early in the morning, getting a malade ready for the day, with lots of joy and enthusiasm and this capacity to notice the need of another.
The annual pilgrimage to Lourdes, my wife and I have gone 9 times, and that's a full week of volunteer service to people who are really sick. You get as much out of it spiritually as they do in their own spiritual healing. People ask me, what do you want to do next during my business career? And I'd often quietly tell them, there's something else that I'm meant for. It wasn't some mistake that I got connected to the Dan Murphy Foundation. I somehow came across Richard Grant's radar just from the work I was doing in the community. He asked me to join the board.
The transition for David to become the president of the Dan Murphy Foundation was a beautiful transition in working with Richard Grant and the board.
He took the job to run the Dan Murphy Foundation when he was at the height of his professional career is hugely admirable. He's giving back to the community by running one of the most important foundations that supports our church.
As the foundation, he's out looking at grantees, he's looking at causes, he's looking at problems, but Dave is really looking at the individuals who are involved in that world. He wants to know why these people are in this situation. How can he help? Not just the facts, figures, data, it's the reality of the person that Dave is interested in.
It makes a lot of sense overall that my dad has dedicated himself to Catholic education because that's how he raised me, his daughter. I think that my dad has found his purpose in the work that he's doing now.
It's inspirational to me to see somebody that says, this is my purpose, this is what I want to do. And he puts his head down and just does this.
The fact that he's on the forefront of evangelization in supporting these efforts, they're all aligned with who he is as a person. But then in this intimate, deep place, he has this compassion for the poor and the vulnerable.
David Fuhrman doesn't care about getting a trophy or putting a statuette up on the mantle in their home. Everything he does is out of love.
One of the guiding principles I have is biblical quote, which is, those that exalt themselves shall be humbled, and those who humble themselves shall be exalted. So why would I want to take a bow for things that I've done? I almost feel like I've got so much more to do. I should be honored 10 years from now. Look at my track record between now and then. What I've done thus far and what I've been involved in hopefully will pale in comparison.